No freaking way. No way. That's no. Okay? Here's the last episode of Star Trek Picard Season 3. Is it also the last episode of Star Trek Picard as a whole? Take caution when you believe when people say things are going to end. They tend not to end. If they said that there's only going to be 3 seasons of Picard, guess what? If it did really well, there's going to be 1,000 seasons of it. It may go under a different name. It may not be Star Trek Picard. But is this going to end up with us getting the next generation? Another show set in the Picard verse, if you will? Who knows? Do you want that? At one point I wanted that. Maybe I don't want it now. But this episode is called The Last Generation. Imagine that. First episode of this season was called The Next Generation. So we're just kind of bringing her all back home, right? We're making a nice, concise, regular circle. We're tying things up. We're giving people the send-off they deserved. If there was ever more evidence that the past mattered, this is it. An exact line from this episode. A little meta, if you've been following along with recent Star Trek. But at the end of the day, I thought TNG ended very well. Okay? It closed the book, in a manner of speaking, in a satisfying way. And then we couldn't leave it well enough alone. Like I said earlier, if it's making money, it's going to come back. Here comes Star Trek Generations. Couldn't leave it well enough alone. We opened that book back up. We opened it back up for a few more movies. Unfortunately, we ended on Star Trek Nemesis. A bit of a downer ending. Kind of a nasty movie. Mean and scary. It's up to you whether or not that closed the book again in a satisfying way. The fact of the matter is, we had the book closed. We couldn't leave it closed. We opened it again. Here comes Picard Season 3. We have a chance to close that book again. The ultimate goal here, and the ultimate point, I believe, having seen all of Season 3, was to just close that book. Do whatever you can to close that book and say goodbye. I wish we hadn't opened it again in Star Trek Generations, and then First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis. I wish we didn't, but we did, and now the responsibility falls to us, that being Terry Metalis and co., to close that book. Okay? You review it, I review it from that point of view. This episode is not that bad from that point of view. It's getting across exactly what it needs to. I'm just going to be upfront with you. A disclaimer here. I know I was probably supposed to love this episode. People who had seen advanced screenings of this season said that this would make me cry. I didn't. There was no crying here. Was I excited? Not really. In case you can't tell, I did not really love this episode. Without spoiling my own review, let's be done with this intro, and let's see what's up, let's see what's down, let's see what's in, let's see what's out of Star Trek Picard Season 3, The Last Generation, also the last episode. Let's check it out. The fleet is now under control of the Borg. The Borg have essentially biologically assimilated everyone. They've essentially won. There's a lot of people probably dead. If we do win this, victory is going to taste pretty bitter. It's going to taste a little nasty. And it's going to feel like a Pyrrhic victory. That is, a victory that we won, but at what cost? Well, it's kids versus adults here. And the Titan and Co. will get that out of the way first, because basically nothing happens with the Titan. We're trying to distract the crews of the other Starfleet ships, which for all intents and purposes are assimilated, from attacking Space Dock. We're just firing on Space Dock. Pew, 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 pew. Zoom out. We've seen it a million times. Starfleet versus Starfleet. Starfleet eating itself. I don't know how many more times we can see it. How many, just offhand, how many new seasons of Star Trek have ended with a lot of ships in one small space? Discovery Season 2 had it. Picard Season 1 had it. Picard Season 2 had it. Picard Season 3 had it. Lower Decks had it Season 3. Prodigy had it at the end of Season 1. It's old hat at this point. I mean, we have these giant starships. Space is huge. These distances are enormous. But let's just pack them all together? I don't know. A lot of my critiques of this episode are going to be based on the internal logic of the show and not based on the overall atmosphere, the overall achievements. You see, these starships are big. They're not little mosquitoes. I'll put it that way. But the Titan is doing strafing, bombing runs, running across this fleet, trying to disable these ships. Boop, 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 boop. Guess what? 7. What is it, Rafni? What isn't Rafaela? What is it? Well, we need line of sight to get their communication across. If we don't have line of sight, they can't see us. Wink, wink. Okay, fine. We'll use the cloak. Line of sight. The assimilated fleet needs line of sight to find the Titan. I mean, the signal, would it not bounce off of other orbital installations? Have the Borg not assimilated other platforms in space? Do we not have ships posted all around Earth orbit that we could ping the signal off of to find the Titan? Does it need line of sight? Does it need to be like ultra high frequency beam? Like, is that what we need? Whatever. We'll take it for granted. So with the cloak, and if we hide, they can't find us. So for some reason, we can continue this bombing run. And it goes on for the whole episode. Somehow we have the Titan, against all logic, surviving alone against a fleet of Borg assimilated Starfleet ships, and they are not utterly obliterated in a second. Because we took back the bridge by, quote unquote, inventing the portable beam-me-up, which is a rifle that fires some type of transporter beacon that facilitates the instantaneous transport of whatever you shoot into wherever area that you have it set to. We transported the Borg kids into a sequestered off area. That's how we took back the bridge, and we got the cook flying the ship. I'm just a cook. I can't fly the ship. I don't know how. I'm just a cook. But you've been to school, so now you're gonna fly this ship. Against the Borg assimilated Starfleet armada. I know you're a cook, but you gotta do it, okay? Listen, we're Starfleet. And, I mean, forgive me, 7 delivers a not very good Starfleet speech. I mean, as captain, this speech was a little lacking. It seemed angry and just abrasive. I don't know if you felt the same. Just like, listen, you're fighting for your family down there. This is Starfleet, so you better do it even though we're gonna die, okay? That's not exactly what you said. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what I felt. And maybe what I feel means something, because 7 came off a little bit angry here. I don't know. It remains to be seen how we're going to learn about 7's command style, wink wink, going forward. At the end of the day, we do manage to waylay the Starfleet Borg Armada long enough for their A-plot to get along, to go off without a hitch, essentially. I'm tired of, I'm going to call it like a villain victory plot. I think I may have brought this up before in a previous review or for a different season of Star Trek. How come the villain's plot always goes off without a hitch, and then our heroes have to solve it in the last episode or last two. Have you noticed this? Modern Trek, and this isn't just relegated to Trek alone. How many plots have you seen recently where the villain's plot goes off without a hitch for the entire season, without our characters really understanding what's going on, and then our characters understand what the plot was at the last minute, and then somehow win through luck and good old-fashioned ingenuity at the last second? Have you noticed that? Like, look, the Borg Queen's plot basically went off without a hitch. She got control of Jack, and then we have to solve it at the last second, right? Season 1, the synths, their plan to attract the synth octopus from space, so I can barely remember, but their plot goes off without a hitch until they have to solve it at the last second, right? Picard Season 2, whoever the bad guy was, his plot goes off a hitch until the last second. It just goes fine until the last second. So we don't see enough of the enemy being on the back foot. We don't see enough of the villains failing and having to re-strategize. I'd like to see a season where we get a give and take, where we spend a long amount of time with the villains, seeing what they're doing and how they're adapting to what the heroes are doing. I'd like to see that. We got a lot of that with the Dominion War in Deep Space Nine. If you're interested in watching that, there's a lot of villain in that in those seasons of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Here, it just seems like everything is going according to plan, and then we got Vatic killed, but it didn't matter. We basically had Jack at that point, and basically we had to just, I don't know, let's fly by the seat of our pants. We're the crew of the Enterprise. We can do anything. We're on the Star Trek TNG Galaxy class Enterprise. Beautiful. I will say the ship looks amazing. Anybody watching this who has never seen old Trek, they're going to watch this and they're going to wonder, wow, why do all those new ships look like garbage? Why does the Galaxy class look newer than all of them? I share the sentiment. Okay? I'm of the opinion that somehow, in some way, the Galaxy class was just the peak of Starfleet design, and then we just never went beyond it. Everything else beyond it was just like some strange downgrade. They're all full of weird surface details, greeblies, if you know what that is, ugly bridges, bad color schemes. Ugh. Yuck. With some exceptions. There are some notable exceptions. That being, the Dauntless. Disregarding its anomalous history, if you know what I mean. Those who know will know. I do think, disregarding just that, the Galaxy class is just better. Am I alone in thinking that? I'm not even a big fan of the Sovereign. The Sovereign could have been saved. It could have been redesigned a few times, a few more passes could have saved it, and a little bit better interior design, a better bridge, but alas, we have to leave it to the Galaxy class to save the day in this episode, and to save the day they do. In case you didn't notice, the heroes do win this time. Guess what? They win. Did you know that? The heroes win. Isn't that strange? In the last episode? I've never seen that before. We're on our way to Earth, and we get a distress signal from Anton Chekhov. Wink, wink. Interesting first name. This appears to be Pavel Chekhov's son. He delivers a warning message, not unlike the one he did, I think, in Star Trek 4? Wasn't there something like that with the whale probe? I don't know. It's been a while. But if you had any doubts in your mind that this was Pavel's son, he quotes his father directly, saying, "Oh, there is always a way, yada, yada, yada." You get the picture. Just so nobody's left out, right? I mean, you could have, anybody watching this who has seen Trek before could have guessed who this was exactly by the name and the voice, but we need to make it clear for, Joe Blow watching this show, and he don't know the history of the Chekhov family, being Pavel and Anton now, stay away from Earth. They're attacking space dock. I thought we had already laid in a course, but in the middle of our warp trajectory, Data, lay in a course. Jupiter. The signals are coming from Jupiter. Let's go. We go to Jupiter. In the red spot, somehow, the Borg right under our noses have constructed a transwarp conduit, which I can only assume the other end was where Jack went in the last episode when he went to that Borg cube. I can only assume that. We transported between that area and Jupiter's red spot, if you will. And this Borg cube is enormous. It is. You can kind of see it in the red spot of Jupiter, way zoomed out. It's that big, and so it's probably the size of a planet. This is This is ginormo cube, guys, and they're like, we're receiving a signal. The Borg signal. It's being transmitted from here. This is the beacon. This is the transmitter. This is what's controlling the Borg armada harassing Earth. We're gonna have to destroy it. And then they're just like, let's hear it. And I was just like, no, don't turn that on. They wanted to hear the signal. Don't turn that on. I was just thinking, no, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear the signal. We don't need to hear the Borg communication right now. What if it hacks the Enterprise? That was my first instinct. And tell me you've noticed that. Like, I couldn't believe that we were just going to willingly listen to the signal. We do, and we're somehow able to single out Jack's signal inside the Borg broadcast, if you will. Jack is in there. Jack is human signals, human brainwaves. He's in there. And Picard's like, what began 35 years ago ends tonight. And again, the second time in this season, we're referring to the time of day. I don't know, it's just weird. It's just weird. Like, earlier on in the season, Vatic says it's about, it's probably afternoon in the Sol system. And then now, Picard's like, what began 35 years ago ends tonight. Tonight. As in, you're watching this tonight. That's the exact moment I knew that this episode has become complete schlock. I was scared how they were going to resolve this. The higher the stakes, the bigger the risk in how you resolve it, right? So you want a bombastic final episode, but sometimes what you end up with is complete insanity. I miss the days of final episodes of seasons just not having to be that amazing, like not having to be a complete spectacle, just being kind of normal. I miss those days. It's just, this is when it transformed into complete schlock. Picard was saying, he went from TNG Picard to kind of being like movie Picard, kind of like angry, a little bit spiteful, a little bit out for revenge Picard that we had starting with like First Contact kind of. Yeah, what began 35 years ago ends tonight, and it does because this episode ends. I don't know if you knew this or not, but you can actually zoom ahead to the end of the episode if you're streaming this, and you can see that it ends. So Picard's right about that. It does end. We need to go into the Borg cube. We need to have a landing party. So you're thinking, we need the Enterprise. We need the landing party. Who am I going to take with me? I'm Picard. I'll take, number 1, Worf. And Riker. Not Data. And Data's like, you should take me, blah, blah. No, we can't take Data. Who knows what that Borg could do? We need you on the Enterprise. Maybe I'm wrong. Could you think of any reason here to not take Data? If I'm going on a landing party, I want Data and Worf. If you've seen TNG, you know, Data, he's incredibly smart. He's incredibly dexterous. Even though he still seems to have, he still seems to have kind of like a weakened, like, I hesitate to say biological, but like purposely fallible body. He looks older. Maybe he's not the super strong Data he was before. But if I'm going to go down to that Borg cube, and I gotta figure out something to do with the computer in a split second, I'm taking Data. But we'll just leave Data on the Enterprise, even though Geordi is supposed to be a fantastic pilot originally. Remember, he was originally the pilot of this ship. Leave Geordi. So, okay. Leave Riker on the Enterprise to command the Enterprise, which he has experience doing. Leave Geordi at the helm, even though Data was doing it at the wrong station. And we'll take Data, Worf, and Picard. We're golden. Beverly, you stay here. You lead me to my son. Our son. Can anybody find a reason why we wouldn't take Data, just out of drama? And they made eye contact. Riker and Troy are saying, mentally to each other, I'm going to die. Do you know that? Troy, Imzadi, I am going down to that Borg cube. I am going to die. I was almost right. Lieutenant Mark was almost right. I had predicted that Riker would die. And the writers wrote it in such a way to make you think he was going to die. Tell me I'm wrong. When you watch this episode, I was sure Riker was going to die. The way it was just foreshadowing it. Spoilers, he doesn't. Spoilers, we get a happy ending. Spoilers, we deserved it. But Riker, Picard, Worf, we go down to that Borg cube. Can you just lead me to my son? Oh yeah, he's right there. Whoop. Oh, there he is. This Borg cube is just the size of a tiny planet. And we just... where's my son? I don't know, just look to your right. Oh, there he is. I'll give it props, though. This Borg cube looked cool on the inside. It looked like a Borg cube. I was used to the way they looked in the season 1 of Picard, where they just looked like, just a black maze. Like a smooth black maze of squares. I don't know. This looked a lot cooler. It looked like how it was supposed to look. And we make contact with the Borg Queen. The Borg Queen, by her own admission, I was all alone. I was just by my onesies. I was the Borg Queen alone after what you have done in previous incarnations of Star Trek. I won't get into it. But the Borg Queen was all but defeated. The Borg Queen was just her upper torso, mutated and amalgamated into the ship in some way, in this horrific melding of flesh and metal. It was gross when we saw the Borg Queen. I'll admit, it takes a lot to gross me out, but I kind of didn't want to look. I kind of winced a little bit and wanted to look away, which I think is a good look for the Borg Queen. I thought it was pretty cool how they did it. I believe Alice Krieg is voicing the Borg Queen. If you don't know, Alice Krieg had originally portrayed the Borg Queen way back when. Borg Queen being what it is, it was the best representation they could have had of the Borg Queen. Very scary, gross, and telling us that she had teamed up with the Changelings to get revenge, to assimilate, to annihilate. Very gross, though. You know, it wasn't gross. We saw Jack. Jack was in there, assimilated. So cool. Oh my god, this was sick. But, Jack's outfit was sick. When I saw him, I knew as soon as I saw Jack that I wanted a figurine of him on my desk. He looked so cool, Borgified. I was just thinking to myself, Jack, I love it. Can we keep it? And then Jack probably should have said, yeah, this is pretty cool. I should keep it. You know, Seven got to keep some of her Borg stuff. Maybe I'll keep some of this, you know? Maybe it's an improvement. Of course, we went with the exact kind of facial design that we had with Locutus, just kind of not interfering with the eyes, having a thing on the side of the head with a red light. Yeah, nostalgia being what it is. We had to end up with Vox looking just like Locutus. I can think of some other cool ones, like maybe his name is Vox. He's about communicating, speech. Maybe his mouth could have been covered by something. Maybe the top of his head. Maybe, maybe the nose and the mouth and his forehead. You can just see his eyes. I don't know, something. But we ended up with something that just looked like Locutus, but the body was way cooler. it kind of makes me want to be assimilated. I might try it. I'll go for some assimilation, just a little bit, to see what I get. Maybe I get some cool new arm or cool looking suit. If it's half as cool as Jack's, that'll be pretty cool, I think. Knowing my luck, though, they'll probably immediately cut my head off and replace my head with a tiny camera or something, and I'm just gonna have to go like that for the rest of my life. How do we get Jack out of here? Well, Picard's idea. I assumed this so long ago that Picard would just re-assimilate himself. I mean, season 2, Picard, Jurati like assimilated herself or something to talk to the Borg Queen. We're doing it again. Picard goes, boop, and I guess you can just take a Borg little needle thing, and I guess you can just put that in your neck and assimilate yourself. I don't know. I kind of figured that the Borg Queen would just say, haha, good luck with that. I've turned off that cord. You know? But I guess you can. Boop. He assimilates himself and he turns into weird black goop face Picard. And he has a heart-to-heart with his son. You know, it's hard to heart-to-heart, but we're heart-to-heart in this episode. And while it was hard, we managed to do it. We had a little hug, you see. And listen, this is the moment that I think sealed the deal. Jack, from what he's saying, it sounds like he wants to be here. I don't know how we went from freewheeling Jack to sad Jack to, okay, let's just assimilate myself, Jack. It makes it look like he willingly did it. Did you get this feeling if you watch this? Jack, did you willingly allow yourself to get assimilated here and then facilitate the deaths of probably thousands of people? Jack, did you do that? That would be my first question, had I assimilated myself and talked to Jack in his Borg mind world, which looked pretty cool, by the way. I mean, at the end of the last episode, I kind of thought Jack, because the Borg Queen could talk to his mind, I kind of thought that he was being overpowered, like he was just being hypnotized. But this episode, it seems like in his mind, seems like he's fully lucid, and he more or less just says, "It's so nice here, and I love it," and it makes you wonder. But last episode, like, did you, Jack, when you let that thing and plug into the back of your neck, did you want that? I don't know. I think that's up to you. I think that's up to the viewer. But I don't know. I came out of this thinking like, Jack must be somehow responsible for this. It seemed he didn't look like he was fighting it to the very end. I was honestly expecting that when Picard entered his mind, Jack would just be screaming to get out. But I guess it really does have that kind of effect on you, you know? Putting the chemicals in your brain to make you feel happy. Just cheating, getting to the end of things without really learning how to deal with it. Troy said as much. Troy took away Riker's pain of his dead son, their dead son, instead of helping him work through it. The way the Borg made Jack happy was actually a lot like how Troy made Riker happy. I don't know if you noticed that. I only noticed it on repeat viewings, but thematically we're doing good here, I'll say that. And then there's this moment where Picard says, "Listen, you sound like you want to be here. That's fine. If that's what you want, I'll stay here with you." And just that moment of genuine connection where Picard said, "I'm just going to kill myself. I'm going to stay here with you. I don't care anymore." That's what snapped Jack out of it. The fact that his new family in the Borg was fake. It was cheating, It was an artificial victory. But the real victory was having Picard sacrifice himself, right? That's what his real family was. And this whole season is about family. But this is really the crescendo to that. And Jack just goes, he wakes up and he just starts ripping cords out of himself. And he frees himself from the collective. Meanwhile, remember Riker and Worf? They're on this ship too. What do they achieve? Well, what did what did Worf and Riker actually do when they went down there? Not that much, really. I've seen this episode multiple times. I can't remember what they did. That must mean something, right? They have an opportunity to beam out, and Riker's just like, no, I'm staying with Picard. I mean, I owe him a lifetime, so I'm staying down here. Today's a good day to die. And I was just thinking, okay, I get that. Riker and Worf are not willing to abandon the captain. Fine. But then you should write something into the episode that only they could be there to do, right? Like, see how thematically it makes sense, but we need the plot to back it up. They show up in the throne room of the Borg Queen and stand there. We're here now. I was expecting, honestly, the minute, this would have been so cool, the minute that Jack and Picard, in Jack's mind, hug, do the everything is okay now hug, the hug that kind of wins the day, same as how Data hugged Lore and then created new Data. Jack and Picard are hugging to create new Jack, in a manner of speaking. I was expecting at the exact moment that happened that Worf would have just taken his, a Kurleth, just taken it and just started hacking away at the pipes going into Jack to forcibly disconnect him, and then Jack laying on the floor, seemingly dead, and then his eyes open up, right at the last moment when they're peering over him, he wakes up. That would have been so cool. It would have been such a Worf thing. We're gonna die anyway. I mean, you are gonna die anyway. It's life or death now. The Borg cube's blowing up. Let's just freaking cut Jack out of it. And that's not what happens. Instead, they just do nothing. That would have been so funny and so cool. And Riker being like, Worf, you could have killed him. We were gonna die anyway. But, that's not what happens. Worf and Riker just do nothing. We managed to get Jack out of the Borg collective, but meanwhile, this is the worst. This is where the episode goes from schlock to unforgivable for me. This is where I'm out. I'm out completely. I'm checked out. I've de-assimilated myself from the season at this moment. We're learning now on board the Enterprise, the Galaxy class, that the beacon that we need to destroy is deep inside the Borg cube. What do you think's going to happen? Turn down the brain notch a few times. Turn it down. Be Joe Blow. What do you think's going to happen? We're going to have to fly the Enterprise into the Borg cube. But that's impossible. Not even my daughter could do it. Geordi says. Data's like, trust my gut. I can do this. And then Data, of course, does the Data thing on the control pad at the ops station and deftly flies the Enterprise, the Galaxy class 600 and some meter ship through the cavernous interior of the Borg cube to destroy the beacon at the center of it. It looked absolutely fantastic. I'll give you that, but it was absolutely fan stupid. Okay? I don't want to see the Galaxy class fly around like a mosquito. It's not a small one-person fighter. The insanity of it. I mean, okay, logically speaking, okay, look. With very, very clever use of the impulse drive, maneuvering thrusters, and external inertial dampener, you could maybe do this. That doesn't mean I want to see it. We often forget in Star Trek that these ships are meant to be large capital ships. They're not like fast attack vessels. They're not like a small destroyer or a frigate. These are huge. They're like a carrier. They were never meant to be even this close to each other, let alone worming its way through a complex maze-like structure like this. It was never meant to be that way. And you know what's really sad? In a season filled with references, in a season filled with Easter eggs, in a season filled with classic stuff that was just meant to be there for the older viewers, the people who have seen old Trek, we don't take it a step further and give a nod to the people who are really paying attention to the Galaxy class design. The Galaxy class has a captain's yacht. It's on the ventral side of the saucer section. It's never been seen used, but it's there. It's designed into the ship. How cool would it have been to take that into the Borg cube? There's a nod to the old fans for you. The people who are really paying attention. If you don't believe me, check this out. Also, the Voyager had something similar, but I think fans have called it the Aero Shuttle. I don't know if that's canonically what it's called. However, the Galaxy classes have Captain's Yacht on the bottom of the ventral saucer. It would have been cool if Geordi could have loaded it with photon torpedoes. Let's just transport the photon torpedoes into the Captain's Yacht. We'll fly it into the Borg cube, and at the last second, we're going to do the best we can to transport somebody out of it, right? So we're going to have, Data, instead of flying the Enterprise into the Borg cube, we'll have Data fly the Captain's Yacht loaded up with photon torpedoes into the Borg cube, and at the last minute we'll transport him out, and automatically the yacht will propel itself full of torpedoes into the beacon, destroying it. That sounds a lot cooler. It sounds a lot more plausible, and it sounds like a lot more of a deep cut that would satisfy fans of not just Old Trek, but fans of the Galaxy class, which I am. I mean, I'm looking at a schematic of the Galaxy class right now. I got a huge wall piece of the Galaxy class. So I take it very seriously, and I was shocked that we flew the Galaxy class into the Borg cube as we did. Tell me that didn't seem insane to you. Tell me there was something off about that. Even if you liked it, just try to think about it for a minute. Right? Yeah. I completely checked out at that point. I didn't think it could get any worse. But did it? The Galaxy class, Troy manages to, hold on, I can get them. And now we know Troy seems like way more psychic than she was in TNG. I think she's only half Beta Z. And her powers are like to detect emotion, not exactly full-on psychic. But I wanted to give it a pass. Listen, Riker and Troy have a special connection. And Riker at that moment says, I love you, Imzadi. I'll be waiting for you with our boy. Remember a few episodes ago, earlier in the season, Riker admits that when their son died, he felt nothing because he knew there was nothing after death. And then in this moment, as he's really faced with death, he just says, I'm going to be waiting with our boy. And somehow we had this mental connection with Troy. I know where they are. And then Troy actually figures out how to have the coordinates of these people inlaid to beam them up. They literally fly the Enterprise directly above our crew on the Borg cube in the Queen throne room to transport them out. And we literally see the Enterprise flying above us. I don't know. Man, I don't know. It's a big ship. I don't know about that. But we transport everybody on, and everybody comes back to the bridge. Jack, welcome to the Enterprise. I love the new look, by the way. And then Jack says, wow, it's so bright in here. Man, the new ships really look like crap. What happened? And then Picard says, I don't know what happened. I don't know why the ships look like garbage now. I don't know why. That's not what's said, but that's what I was feeling. And everybody's good. Geordi is in command. Geordi sits in the captain's chair. Geordi is number one. Sits where Picard's number one sat. Did you notice that? Data sits in Riker's chair. And Troy sits in Troy's chair. Worf sits in Troy's chair and immediately falls asleep. And it was so cute. What wasn't cute was that Worf was trying to fend off Borg drones with his sword. Riker finds out it's very heavy. Releases what I guess is either a disruptor or a phaser from the handle. You had this? Why were you using the sword? And then Worf just says it was more fun. Yeah, Worf, let's just worry about fun when we're trying to save everything. I mean, Beverly, you heard Beverly. Beverly said, if Earth falls, the Federation falls. I mean, doubt. But, you know what I mean. Anyway, we're just going to have fun with the sword. Whatever, I'll just use a sword. Whatever, I don't need to use my gun. Unless they were just going to do rotational shield changes anyway, which they used to do. Remember that? When they had personal shields. I guess it doesn't work with a sword. Even though Worf's explanation for why he used it was that it was more fun. And not the shield thing. I don't know. Am I filling things in with headcanon to make it make sense? You have to wonder sometimes if you know enough about Star Trek. Is it possible that you're filling in holes for the creators, unbeknownst to them? Like, if my explanation for why Worf was using the sword was that they were just going to have personal shields anyway, the Borg, like, what if the writers didn't know that, and I'm giving them too much credit? I often wonder that. What if we use headcanon too much to do their job for them? That's something I was thinking about. Maybe I'm wrong, but we do manage to get out of the Borg before it's destroyed. Classic movie ending, everything's blowing up, but here comes the Enterprise, baby. With its entire crew in tow. Everyone survived. Shaw's dead, but everyone survived. Wonderful. The new character that we introduced that everybody loved, he's dead, baby. But guess what? The old crew, they're still okay. We get out of there, and just like a cartoon, all the Borg drones, all of our kids are de-assimilated instantly, and we're golden. What a happy-go-lucky ending. Our characters, 1 year later, are wearing the same exact clothes as they were before. They look the same. Nothing has changed. And we don't pass up an opportunity to go back to that bar one more time. We go back to 10 forward, bar, whatever. And Picard delivers an interesting little quotation from Shakespeare. Nothing wrong with that. It's right up Picard's alley. And not to be outdone, we're playing a card game. Who's up for card? Remember how TNG ended with the card game? I forget what they play in TNG. Pinochle or something like that. I don't know. I don't play cards. I don't know how they work. I don't know a single card game. But so if this is totally wrong or looks insane to you because you know how card games work, feel free to complain. But I don't know enough to say. The camera zooms out. We're looking down at the table. The table is in the middle. Our characters are playing cards. And it's just like TNG. In that 1 year, though, Jack was on an accelerated course through Starfleet. 1 pip. I guess he's an ensign. And he ends up with a posting in a single year to the Titan. He's being posted to the Titan. Isn't that convenient? Everyone's just forgiven, whatever. Jack is forgiven. Listen, I know earlier on this season, Jack was wanted for crimes in the Federation. Remember that? That he was wanted already? Remember? Do I just take it for granted that those were crimes of passion and little white lies here and there? Oh, and just petty stuff? Am I taking that for granted? I mean, Jack accelerated course through Starfleet. His crimes couldn't have been that bad, right? I'm sure in that year he answered for all those crimes, right? And nothing was really that horrific, right? I'm supposed to assume that. I don't know if anybody else asked that question as soon as they saw Jack just immediately skyrocket through Starfleet. Whatever. Jack, accompanied by his mother and father, pacing around in the shuttle, nervous. And then, nepotism got me through this. Oh, nepotism, haha, making light of that. Well, I mean, if you got a really terrible name, you don't take that the same if your name is garbage. Believe me, I know. It doesn't, it's not a funny thing. Picard thankfully tries to say, oh, names mean nothing. You'll notice that always comes from people who have cool names. I've noticed that anyway. And then Jack's like, oh, but names mean everything. In honor of your adventures this season, we've renamed the Titan. Ugh. I've always... I've... It's just spine-tinglingly annoying whenever they rename ships like that. You're not supposed to rechristen a ship. It happens. I know it happens. It's been going on for decades in Star Trek. I know, but I still don't like it. Come up with any excuse you want. I still don't love it. And I was thinking, oh my god, here we go. Here we go. Names mean everything, Picard. We changed the name of the Titan. And I was thinking, yes, here we go. Yes, we renamed the Titan the U.S.S. Picard. Here we go. And the Titan, the name of the Titan, is going back onto a Luna-class ship. I was thinking, oh, they're going to fix it. Here we go. Here we go. We're going to look at the Titan. Is back at a Luna-class. And the Titan, as we knew it this season, is going to be renamed the U.S.S. Picard. That way, when Star Trek Picard continues for Season 4, it won't have any of the old characters, but it'll be called Star Trek Picard because the ship is the U.S.S. Picard. This is so cool. No, that's not what happens. We renamed the ship the U.S.S. Enterprise. NCC 1701G. That ugly pile of garbage is now the Enterprise. When you name something the Enterprise, that's a big deal. All of the crew on the Titan just got an instantaneous promotion to Enterprise crew. The Enterprise is for the best of 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 the best. Are you going to change everyone on the Titan to Enterprise crew level? I mean, if you're going to crew up the Enterprise, they're usually going to be all new people. They're going to be up-and-comers. They're going to be the best people at Starfleet. Are 7 of 9, Raffi, Jack, Sydney, are they the best people at Starfleet? Really? They're pretty good, but are they the best? I don't know. I mean, the captain for the Enterprise is probably somebody we don't know yet, right? That's how it would probably be. But I guess we all just got our promotion. By the way, Tuvok's back. Thank God. Thank God. Imagine the luck. The Changelings never killed anybody that they replaced. And they left Tuvok alive. Thank you. I clapped when I saw it. I was like, yes. Thank you. Tuvok is here. Tim Russ is on screen. Here. 7. Here's a message from Shaw, who had just recently died. And I couldn't help but feel a little bit wronged by that. It felt like the writers were taking their words, putting it in his mouth. I don't know. It's a little bit esoteric. It's a little bit nebulous, but I can see how you might like it. But I didn't enjoy seeing Shaw say this after he's dead. Listen, 7. She's a little bit cavalier. She breaks the rules. Flies by the seat of her pants. Doesn't have much regard for protocol. That's why I think 7 of 9 should be captain. Yeah, that makes sense. And calls her 7 of 9. He was calling her 7 of 9 privately since the beginning. What was his problem? Why wouldn't he just say 7 of 9 anyway on the bridge out loud in front of everybody, other than just for drama? It was just for drama. It was, you made him look stupid for drama. This issue with the name that we solved in the writing system a zillion episodes ago. It permeates the entire season. God dang. Dang. He's dead. He's gone. I can't believe we killed Shaw. I don't know how you did it, but you made me not interested in watching a show continue with this crew. I don't know how you did it. There was a moment in this season where I was ready, I was buckled in to watch 7 seasons of these people keep going on their adventures. Shaw, 7, Jack, Sydney. I was ready. But then you freaking... I don't know what you did. You renamed the Titan the Enterprise, which you can't do. Even though the Yorktown was renamed, but whatever. It was a swap. It was not an upgrade. It was a side grade. It was just a swap. They were the same class. It doesn't matter. We're calling the Enterprise now the stupid... It's the Constitution 3 class. And what the hell's that? What the hell is a Constitution 3 class? Constitution 3 class Enterprise that looks like it's 300 years old. Give me a break. I just don't... It's insane. Look at the Galaxy class Enterprise. Look at whatever the Titan is. No, I hit my light. I was so mad I bumped my light. The first time I saw this episode, I swear to you, I was shaking with rage. I am not lying. When I saw the Enterprise at the end of this, my hand was shaking like this over my mouth. It's so indulgent. And just the peak of peaks of indulgence. At the last moment, we couldn't leave it well enough alone. The one interesting thing that happened in Picard Season 2, the tasteful send-off of Q, the culmination of Q and Picard's relationship at the very end of Season 2. We see Q off, he dies. We couldn't leave it well enough alone. Talk about opening books again that were closed perfectly. We open them again, and we see Jack in, I guess, his quarters on the Enterprise, on the Titan Prize, and we see Q interrupt Jack. Oh, I thought you were dead. I wasn't dead. You think so linearly. Couldn't leave it well enough alone. We're digging up Q. I don't know how you did it, but I don't want to keep watching now. I don't want to watch the Titan Prize, what is by default now the ugliest Enterprise ever, with 7 of 9 commanding. That's fine, but no Shaw and Raffi. Who cares about Raffi? And Jack, Ensign Jack, 1 pip, 1 year through Starfleet, onto the bridge, sitting in Troy's chair, essentially, as special counselor to the captain. No freaking way. No way. That's no. Okay? Set this 5 years after the end of the previous events of this episode. Set it like 5 years later. That scene where Jet... have him, I don't know, just... He'll be at Ops. That sounds good for Jack. He'll be at Ops. He'll be alongside Sydney, Esmar, Murrah, 7 of 9. And 7 of 9's first officer is not Raffi. I just don't want to see it anymore. I don't know what... I've never seen a season go from great to bad in 2 episodes this fast before. I don't like the... 9 made it bad. 10 just checked me out entirely. I'm totally checked out. You can't rename the Titan the Enterprise. What should have happened was, like I said earlier, the Titan has been renamed the U.S.S. Picard. Jack says, "Oh, names mean everything." Oh, that's the... And then Picard said, "What? You renamed it the Enterprise? Just a guess?" And then Jack said, No. This is the U.S.S. Picard. That's the Enterprise. And they should have looked out the other side of the window and saw the Enterprise G. And have it be like half constructed so that you can use your imagination to complete it. And have it just be totally majestic. Totally curvy, totally futuristic, mind-blowing design. That's the Enterprise. How about not making the Enterprise the nastiest looking class in your fleet? How about that? I know, a wild idea. Okay, what's up with this episode? Musically, how can you complain? It's using the classic music. Wonderful. You got me there. Plot-wise, bad. This plot was contrived. It was a little bit too cute. It wrapped itself up so nicely. A little bit too nice. The ending totally apes the ending of TNG. It makes you wonder why we ever opened the book back up again. But emotionally, it's delivering the ending we deserved. That's true. Thematically, it's good. Family. But there's also a secret theme in here I noticed. The episode The Bounty, you can hear Sung talk about evolution. He says evolution is not preservation, it's addition. In this episode, the Borg Queen says, we're making everything perfect. That's not evolution And then I think Picard says, that's not evolution, that's death. So there's this concept of evolution itself being a goal in and of itself, to constantly add, not necessarily just preserve. The end point of evolution, perfection as it were, would be the same as what the Borg have, but perfection is the same as death, because there's no more to succeed. There's no more goal. And we learn that's not really what we want. So in an interesting way, we're kind of taking the Borg and we're saying, actually, the Borg represent an evolutionary endpoint. Did you notice this? Evolution has been mentioned multiple times in this season, and I think just twice in this episode, that really to be free from the Borg is to accept that the only constant is change, right? You cannot forcibly get to the end point of your struggle, of your sadness, by just deleting it away. Anybody can just delete it away. The Borg can delete it away. You could probably delete it away right now with drugs. But that's not a real victory. Right? Troy discovered that too with Riker. You can't just take away the pain using your psychic abilities. You have to grow and get over it. Riker grew. He accepted he was dying, and he accepted he would be waiting here for you with our boy. Riker's arc, emotionally, with regards to his son, has been complete. Even if you didn't notice it, it was secretly kind of completed. So that's the secret theme of Picard Season 3. The overt theme actually is family. Okay? How the older generation connects to the new generation. How the old generation learns to accept a new family. Right? They go back to their old family to find the new. Okay? Picard had to go back to his old Enterprise to find his son. Okay? We had to go back to our old family to realize the new one. That was the overarching theme here on the that was the surface theme. Reaching back into the past to pull out what we needed for the future. And it seems to fly in the face totally of Season 1 and Season 2. It is so on the nose. How could you miss it? How many times do we see in this episode the Enterprise? Treat her good and she'll always bring you home. Something to that effect. Right before they leave the bridge, they echo McCoy from the very first episode of TNG. If you don't know, McCoy is on board the Galaxy class and gives a little speech about the Enterprise to, I believe, Data, saying how to treat it, how to treat this ship. She got the right name. She'll always bring you home. We echo that here, echoing the past. You know, the future is in the past. We take what was good, we preserve it, but we also have addition. That's evolution. You get it? See, as a whole, we have a story about family, and a story about legacy, a story about evolution, and a story about our offspring. Thematically, we're hitting on all cylinders. Thematically, we're batting 1,000. It's just these last few episodes, I'll say at least the last 3, really needed a few more passes. We really need to explain a lot more. Who was the face that was talking to Vadic? Was that the Borg Queen? Did we confirm it? You could assume it. But how was the face able to affect the physiology remotely of Vadic? Remember that? The face could control Vadic's body in a way. What was that about? And at the end, we had to bring back Q. That's a black mark on this show if I ever saw one. We just don't need it again. Make it a different Q. There's more than just that Q in the Q continuum. Make a new Q. Why not? Did we have to dig up John Delancey for this? No offense, but we closed the book on him. We closed the book. This is about book closing. You close the book, and then you open another one at the last second just to trick me and to keep watching? I don't think so. I'm not watching any freaking show with Jack Seven, Raffi, who cares? And it's not the Enterprise, it's the Titan. I'll probably watch it. Who am I kidding? I hated this episode with a passion in first viewings. Second and third, I liked it a little more. I see what it's doing thematically. Joe Blow, just anybody watching this, just some random guy, some random person consuming it, just the person consuming the show, they might really like it. It might really work for them. I can see how somebody could really like this. But for me, the logical problems are just a little bit too great. You cannot fly the Enterprise like that, the Galaxy class. You cannot rename an ugly old ship the Enterprise. You cannot just kill Shaw for no reason. You cannot just blanket promote everybody on that ship into Enterprise position. You cannot have Jack go through Starfleet in 1 year. And you cannot bring back Q like that. That's not... It's beyond the pale, right? It's just the best... Like, thematically good, plot horrible, music good, ships, visuals. I think this is the best looking episode of the season. The CGI blew me away in this episode. It looked incredible when the Galaxy class was flying around. Galaxy class 3D model looked absolutely stellar. I mean, it put the Titan to shame. It's really sad. What are they thinking? What are you thinking? Doug Drexler, Terry Metalis, John Eves, the whole crew, yada yada yada, the usual suspects. What are you thinking? Trying to make that ship the Enterprise. What are you thinking? Call it the U.S.S. Picard. I would have immediately resigned had I been working on the show at that point. As soon as anybody thought that was something we could do. There's people watching this review now who have not been alive longer than I have been speculating about the Enterprise G in my mind. I've been wondering about what these future ships might look like for so long, and then I just get slapped in the face. And no, we're renaming this the Enterprise. If the Enterprise D was Constitution refit class, this Constitution, I would accept this upgrade. I would accept this as the Enterprise B. That's how old looking it is. What do you think? Am I being petty? Am I looking too deep into this? Should I just relax? Should I just go with the flow? You're totally valid if you think I should. By the way, it totally makes sense, because at the end of the day, it's just a show, you know. But and it's here to please. It's here to please the old. It's here to please the new. If I got 1 foot in the old, 1 foot in the new, and I'm worrying too much about the logic of it, am I in the wrong? With all that being considered, I'm going to have to go, and the best I can do, I'm going to have to give this episode a 5. It's not as good as the last episode. I just don't feel it. It just added too much wrong stuff. It has to get a 5. I know people are going to love this episode, right? And I know I'm going to be in a minority here, but it's just, the moment I checked out for good was when the Enterprise was flying around inside the Borg cube like that. I don't want to see that. It should have been the Captain's yacht. Or they should have took a really small ship from the Starfleet Museum. And it's sad because there's so much set up that was cool that could have really been rewritten to make this make sense. The overarching ultimate sin of this season, number 1, is making the changelings weak and ineffective, making them look stupid. Number 2, the victories achieved in the first 8 episodes seem totally disconnected in general from what we needed to achieve in 9 and 10. It seems like they don't affect each other. It seems like episodes 1 to 8 were a totally different show. And then 9 and 10 were just, it's Borg time. Disconnect. Massive disconnect. Maybe we should have revealed the Borg earlier. Maybe we should have killed Vadic sooner. The seeds of a fantastic season were sadly squandered at the last moment. given that, it's still an alright season. It's still not that bad. It's not horrifically bad. It's totally watchable. I'm probably just going to watch the first 4 episodes on loop forever. Because looking back, maybe I didn't appreciate them enough, because they're actually really good. Like I said, I would have continued on a show with Shaw and the gang, but sadly that's squandered. Data could fly the Enterprise into the Borg cube. He had a gut feeling. If anyone could do it, it was Data. Back on Earth, a cook who had no idea really how to fly the ship was able to fly the ship and escape incoming projectiles from the assimilated armada long enough to not get the ship completely destroyed. Which one's more amazing? That was just something I just noticed. Put the two together. Both A and B plots have a pilot doing something that should be absolutely impossible, but yet they do it. One of them's Data, and one of them's a cook. I think I know who I'm rooting for. Perhaps you didn't notice this little detail. That was Star Trek Picard Season 3. What do you think? Better than Season 1? Better than Season 2? Couldn't stick the landing. That was a problem for me, ultimately. And you know how we do it here. Whenever we end a season, I always like to break the fourth wall. I like to break the reality of the channel for a moment and just ask you to remember to hit like, subscribe if you want to. Ultimately, the single best thing you can do is tell somebody. If you like it, you can tell anybody else who might be interested in watching this content. Moving forward, we have Star Trek Strange New World Season 2. I saw the trailer. I wasn't super impressed, but I wasn't super disappointed either. It looks par for the course for that kind of like Discovery continuity. Have you noticed that this season of Picard felt like it was strictly in old continuity, and Strange New Worlds now has the different Constitution class that was different in Picard, and now there's kind of this weird disconnect. Have you noticed that? We saw the New Jersey in Picard, which looked like the Constitution class. It looked like how it was supposed to look. And now we have to go back to Strange New Worlds in a few weeks to watch the different Constitution class. I don't know. But maybe they just don't care. Maybe I'm worrying too much about it. Maybe the nefarious conspiracy theories you can come up with in your mind for why this season can have the old Constitution class and Strange New Worlds has to have the different one. Maybe that's just all crap. Maybe they don't really worry about what the ship looks like, you know? Maybe we're all thinking about it a little bit too much. So I will try to go into Strange New Worlds Season 2 with a fresh mind. Star Trek Resurgence is coming out. That's supposed to be coming out in May. If you don't know, that's like a kind of like an adventure-style video game coming out set in the Star Trek universe. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to be playing it day one, and we're definitely going to be playing on this channel, so look forward to that. In addition to that, Star Trek, what was it? It was either Judgment Rights or 25th Anniversary. We started that when there was a lull in content before, and we're going to be picking that up again soon, in the weeks that follow or after Picard Season 3 and before Strange New World Season 2. Also, we're going to be responding to comments. We're going to be going in-depth on this season with these comments. We're going to be getting a response to everything. Who knows? Maybe you'll change my mind. Right? It's happened before. Comments have changed my mind before. Maybe I'll change my mind in this episode by then. You don't know. I'm only human after all. This was Picard Season 3, Episode 10. The Last Generation. Last episode. Could have been better. When all is said and done, go back to the beginning of my review here. See what I said? We closed the book. We closed the book Fantastic TNG. In TNG, we opened it again. We were not able to perfectly close it with Nemesis, and we closed it now. We gave them back the ending they had in TNG. Who would have thunk it, eh? We got the ending we deserved, but we had to take a lot of black eyes along the way, and we ended up with a horrific Enterprise. Ultimately, you were going to have to ask yourself, was that worth it? And as it simmers, stews, marinates in my mind, maybe I'll start to believe that it was worth it. For now, I'm saying no, tentatively. This was not worth it. That doesn't mean the season's bad. It just means it wasn't worth the ending. You know? It certainly went out with a bang. You can't deny that. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm going to see you soon. Goodbye, everyone.